Did you know the FBI believes there are as many as 25 serial killers active at any given time? However, the Murder Accountability Project believes that number to be closer to 2,000. Welcome. I'm Jay.
I'm T.
We are Fatal Blend.
This is where we talk about two things we absolutely love. A little bit of coffee and a lot of true crime. Specifically, serial killers.
Yes, we do. And here we are.
We are.
1 week closer to that magic number. The magic number would be 52.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's what we've officially changed it to. So you'll get a new intro at 52.
We'll see.
And cool episode, hopefully. All right, so what are you drinking today?
I am drinking hot chocolate because it's a little bit chilly. And the room we podcast in is freezing cold. And I wanted something that wasn't coffee. So I do a hot chocolate.
Facts. Definitely just got over some snow in our area. I know there's people with a lot more, but it was cold. 20s. Yep, it's cold for my bones. Which brings me to what I'm drinking, which is a hot tea.
Did you put anything in it?
Yeah, absolutely. I put sugar because I have to drink it sweet and not like dirt. Just a nice, warm, hot black tea. I can't drink things that are warm. I need them extra hot. Like usually when I get just a regular coffee or something from a coffee shop, I can guzzle it down pretty well because it's just kind of lukewarm. So I like it hot where I can sip it.
I mean, probably not lukewarm. You just are used to hot stuff because typically a coffee shop's going to make their drinks like 165, which is that's not lukewarm.
I mean, you can say that again. I am married to you.
Okay.
Hot stuff.
Okay.
And
I don't have anything else to really, like, I have nothing, there's nothing going on.
I mean, there's not, yeah. I mean, it's been a pretty boring week, you could say.
Yeah, pretty much.
Definitely not a whole lot to yap about. So
not really.
We can get into yapping about our serial killer this time.
Okay, we are talking about a guy named Anatoly Onoprienko. Now, some of the names in this I'm just going to fucking butcher because this is from Ukraine.
We do the best
and
we
it's
can.
really hard to look up the names because a lot of the times, it's just...
And when you put it in the Google,
they don't tell you. Google does not tell you everything you need to know.
And sometimes when you say how do you say this, it's very robotic. So it might not even be
17 different ways to pronounce it, and so I'm just gonna do my best.
So we're just gonna try.
Now I am 100% sure his name is Anatoly though, so that's how we're gonna call him. But like I said, his last name is Onoprienko, so we're just gonna go with it. All right. So Anatoly, his nickname is the Beast of Ukraine, Terminator, and Citizen O. He had 52 victims. His murder dates are 1989 to 1996. The location of his murders was Ukraine. His method of murders was shooting and striking with an axe, and characteristics were robbery. So,
dang, it's a lot of people.
Yeah, you'll find out why. But we're gonna do a tiny smidgen, minute amount of his background because again, there isn't much. So we're just gonna go with what I got. So Anatoly was born July 25th, 1959 in the village of Lasky in Ukraine, which at the time that he was born, Ukraine was actually still considered part of the Soviet Union and under like USSR, like Russia. So it's not the Ukraine that you know now. It's Ukraine back in the day. Now he had a brother named Valentin, and Anatoly was the youngest in his family. So he was a family with himself, his brother, and his parents. Now, his dad was a decorated war veteran. He actually served in the Eastern Front in World War II. Anatoly's mother died when he was 4 years old. Now, Anatoly was raised for a very short time by his grandparents and aunts, like they would pitch in and help. And then he was actually given away to an orphanage.
Hmm.
Now, Anatoly did grow up to resent his father for giving him up because,
As one would.
well, his brother got to stay with his dad.
Okay, then one definitely would.
But his brother was also 13 years older than him. So you figure the grandparents and aunts stepped in after the mother passed away. So he was 4. So right there, his brother was 17.
Yeah, so
So
dad
his
didn't
dad
want to
didn't-
have to take care of the kid.
Exactly. He didn't want to have to take care of the little kid. And so he gave away the little kid to an orphanage. Now, at a few different points in his life, he did things like studying forestry. He was a seaman at one point. Like, he legitimately had things that he did, but most of his life he actually spent as a drifter. So he really didn't have which I think is why there's not too much information on his background, because there's not much to tell.
And I'm curious if Anatoly is like is a common name, because every time you say Anatoly, I get a glimpse of we're in Italy, like Anatoly.
That's what I felt too. I know I felt that too. But
it's the Anatoly with the oregano.
so we're gonna jump right into the murders because again, there's not a lot of background, but there's a little more to it. So just know. Now, in true serial killer form, he had a specific pattern to his murders. He would always start by looking for a house that was isolated. And then he would make a commotion outside to get the attention of the people in the home. Then he would kill any adult male in the home first. Any male adult. Then he would move on to any female adult. And then he would end with killing any children in the home. So he would literally find a house, make a shit ton of noise outside. Whoever comes out the house, kill him. Go inside, find the males, kill him. Find the females, kill him. Find the children, kill him. Steal whatever you wanted out of the house and move on. Now, he would also light their houses on fire. And he was doing it literally to try to burn up any evidence of him being there. And he would also look for any potential witnesses at the time, and he would kill them too.
God damn. So you just walk around like, that person might have saw. Yeah.
Yes.
Damn.
So obviously Anatoly gets caught eventually. And when he does actually end up admitting to killing 52 people. That is how they know he killed 52 people. Now, the following list that I'm going to give you are the people that he admitted to killing.
See, here's the crazy thing. I'm trying to just, in my mind, think of 52 names of people I know. And it's like, for somebody to remember 50, that's, to me, I know
it's not that hard to remember 52 people when they're mostly families that he killed.
Yeah. And I get that.
That's
I'm just saying,
part of the reason why he can't. I mean, he doesn't know their names. He doesn't know their names.
But he'll just be like, oh yeah, the blue house killed all them.
He will admit to the homes, and then they're able to know, because these people's homes, most of them were lit on fire.
I mean, you figure if you average a family of 4, 2 adults, 2 kids, that's 13 houses.
Well,
and I know that there's a variation there, probably some that had a whole lot more than that, but it's just like 13 houses before you got caught. That's crazy.
I mean, he was killing for 7 years. He went 7 years before he got caught. So,
which is also crazy.
Okay, so it began in 1989. Anatoly's first victims was actually a family of 10.
Okay, well, starting off strong.
Now, he was in the middle of robbing the house when he was interrupted. So he didn't do the whole make a bunch of noise outside. He basically went into this house, started to burglarize it, gets caught, and he kills all 10 members of the family. He also claims that another man by the name of Sergei Rogosin was also with him that night, which would make sense because you figure 10 people, that's a lot for one person to kill 10 people.
No, that's a
Right.
lot to wrangle.
So
and
I
keep
would
control
assume
of.
you had somebody else there. Now, he claimed that they killed the family using weapons that they had brought with them for self-defense. And he also claimed that after this specific incident, him and Sergei stopped talking. Like, they just cut ties with each other. But his whole point was, we went there to rob. They walked in on us robbing, so we killed them.
Totally
all.
their fault.
We brought those for self-defense, so we had to use them, is what he says. So then also in 1989, he actually kills 5 people who were sleeping in their car. This did include an 11-year-old boy. It was a family. and he set fire to the bodies inside the car after he killed them.
So now let me ask, for somebody who says, well, I mean, we brought the weapons for self-defense, so would that be somebody who's like a narcoleptic?
Narcissist?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
No, I don't think he was saying it for that reason. I think he was just telling them like, oh yeah, we killed them. And they said, well, where did you get the weapons? Oh, we brought them with us for self-defense. I don't think he was claiming self-defense. I don't think he was any of that. He's a real one.
He's a monster.
You'll hear it.
That's his nickname.
You'll hear it. So he sets the bodies of these 5 people on fire after he kills them. Now, he does claim, after he's caught, that he actually wasn't going to kill anybody. He was actually just going to go into the vehicle and steal a bunch of shit out of it. But when he got to the vehicle and opened the doors and saw that there were 5 people in him, he had no choice but to kill him. Again, he had no choice. Now, he does not murder again until December 24th, 1995. That's a 6-year gap. Okay.
Which makes you think a couple of things like, did you?
Uh-huh. So Anatoly, on December 24th, 1995, yes, that's Christmas Eve, he kills the Zychenko family while robbing their home. The family of 4 was shot with a sawed-off shotgun, and their house is set on fire. Then, on January 2nd, 1996, another family of 4 is shot. Then immediately after he shoots and kills his family, a man is killed outside of the home because he walked by the house at the same time the family was being killed. And Anatoly was like, he might be able to recognize me. And so he killed him. That's exactly what he did. So you're right. He just killed people that he saw. Then on January 6th, 1996, Anatoly kills 4 more people. But this time it's not a family and they're not in a home. It's actually 4 different people that he stopped while on the highway. He would stop the cars and he would kill the drivers of the car.
Would he take the car? Or?
No, he just killed them. Now, these were people. So one of them was an unknown victim. One was Kasai, who was a Ukrainian Navy ensign. One was a man named Savitsky. He was a taxi driver. And one was a man named Kochergina, and he was a cook. And he literally just like would flag the cars down. They'd stop and he'd like walk up and shoot them. Just because I guess he can.
And so
I'm assuming he was going to burglarize the vehicles because that's really his killing was because he was stealing.
But that just makes me think that gap. There wasn't a gap. There's more.
I mean, they feel the same, but we haven't got there yet. So then on January 17th, 1995, Anatoly kills all 5 members of the Pilat family in their home. He sets that home on fire. And then he kills 2 other people who are outside the home because he was worried about them being a witness, walking down the street. One of them was 27-year-old railroad worker named Konzela, and one was a 56-year-old named Zakharko. These are their last names. That's just what they tell me. They don't tell me anything. That's what I researched. Then on January 30th, 1996, a woman named Marosina and her 2 children are killed in her home, as well as a visitor that she also had in her home was also killed at the time. Then on February 19th, 1996, Anatoly kills all 4 members of the Dubchaks family. The father and son are shot. The mother and daughter are killed with a hammer. Beat to shit with a hammer.
Like he ran out of bullets or?
Well, what he claims happened is that he had actually demanded money from the daughter, but she refused to give him money. So he killed her and he felt the hammer was the justifiable way to kill her. Then on January 27th, 1996, Anatoly kills all 4 members of the Bodnarchuk family. Now, the parents are shot to death and there were 2 daughters, ages 7 and 8. They were killed with an axe. I don't know why.
I was going to say, what was his reason for that one?
I don't know why.
Oh, I think I know. I think I read it. He's a piece of shit.
Oh, he's a big piece of shit. So Anatoly kills a neighbor an hour after he kills this family.
Just in case.
By shooting him in the back and then uses the axe as well on this man. And why? Because the neighbor had been wandering kind of close to the Bodnarchuk's property. And then on March 22nd, 1996, this is actually his last known murder. It was all 4 members of the Novosad family, they were shot and killed, and their house was also set on fire. Now, obviously, during these times, they would have these, they obviously knew the same person was probably doing this.
Yeah, same MO, same shit.
They didn't know who it was, but they knew that this all seemed pretty fucking familiar. Every time a house would be lit on fire, they'd show up, there'd be a family that was shot, although it probably, my guess, it didn't say, but my guess would be it probably threw him for a loop with the axe when the axe came in and the hammer.
Yeah, maybe that's why he did it, like, ooh, change up the MO.
Like, I don't know. Well, he gets caught, obviously. So in April of 1996, Anatoly had actually recently moved into a home with his cousin. Now, his cousin, or Anatoly, had kind of been, he'd been dating like this woman, and he was living with his cousin. So he was like there sometimes, sometimes not. Well, Anatoly's cousin actually finds in his home, in Anatoly's cousin's home, he finds like this really extensive collection of weapons in his home. And he knows that these are Anatoly's because he's like, these are not ours. And so he calls up Anatoly and he's like, get over here. Like, what the fuck? So Anatoly comes over and he's like, you can't have these weapons in my house. Why are they here? That's not okay. Get the fuck out. I don't want you in my house. So Anatoly moves. He moves out of his house and goes and lives with his girlfriend. Now, his cousin actually, before he leaves, Anatoly turns to him and said, you have no idea what you just did. I will be taking care of your family on Easter. That's what he tells him.
God damn.
So naturally, his cousin calls the police because he's like, hold on.
Wait, you're giving me till Easter?
What? Well, it's April. So, I mean, probably that weekend, right?
Yeah.
So he naturally calls the police and he basically says, hey, so I have a cousin. His name's Anatoly. And he's been living with me for quite some time. And I just found like all these crazy weapons and I kicked him out of my house. So, you know, when he was leaving, he literally threatened to kill me and my family on Easter. And so the cops were like,
I mean,
okay.
He said, I'm going to take care of you on Easter. It could have been
no, he threatened to kill. That's what he was
eggs or candy.
No. And he was like mad. So he was definitely like, no, like I'm kind of worried because with all the weapons that I just made him take out of my home, like whatever. And so they're like, okay, well, where'd he go? Oh, he went to his girlfriend's house, his girlfriend's apartment, blah, blah, blah. So he gives them all the information. And on April 16th, 1996, the police actually show up to Anatoly's apartment that he shares with his girlfriend, Anna, and her 2 young children. Now, on this particular day, Anna is at church with her 2 children, and Anatoly is at home waiting for them. Now, the police ring the doorbell, and he opens the door because he's expecting it to be Anna and her children, not the police.
They said, surprise, motherfucker.
So he opens the door and they're like, hi, Anatoly. And he's just like, oh, fuck. So they ask him to identify himself and he's like, yeah, sure. Come on in. Like, okay. Like he actually wasn't crazy about it. He was like, yeah, you can come in. They ask him who he is. He's like, yeah, my name's Anatoly. But if you want my ID, I'm going to go ahead and just go grab it real quick. And they're like, that's great. So he goes over to this closet to go grab his ID and he like immediately dives into the closet and grabs a pistol and points it at the cops, which didn't end well. Nothing happened and he was immediately fucking arrested. Like there was like, like, bitch, what you gonna do? Really? What are you gonna do?
As a cop, you're just sitting there watching like
you knew as soon as he went to the closet, they already were ready to fucking like grab his ass because obviously like, oh, my ID's in my closet. Okay. Like, no. So he's arrested and they actually discover 100 different items that could potentially be linked to multiple murders in this home. Just different items. Now, he actually, when he first gets arrested, he admits to killing 8 people. And he's just like, oh, yeah, I killed these people. Blah. However, after talking to him, telling him the evidence they found, showing him the things that they know,
He's like, the jig is up.
Okay, I killed 52 people.
Damn.
Now, he also claims that he had been hearing voices and that's why he was killing people, which, listen. That could very well be true, but it's still not an excuse and you're still going to go to jail. So fine.
Yep.
Now, his trial actually takes like a really long time to start because apparently in Ukraine, now I don't know if it's still like this, but this was in 96. Apparently in Ukraine, a trial cannot start until the defendant has been able to read all of the evidence that's going to be brought against them. So he had to sit in his jail cell And he was given all the evidence, copies of all the evidence, pictures of all the stuff of what was going to be used against him in the trial.
So he gets to just reminisce
at his leisure.
He
could read it. So he took forever to read through these pieces. And there were over 99 pieces of evidence that they had against Anatoly. So you think about it. If he wanted to, he could sit and look at one piece of evidence a day and 99 days before they'd even consider starting his trial. Now, some of the evidence they had were photos of bodies, which I think is so fucked up because, like you said, he could literally, if he's one of those people who likes to reminisce about his crime, you just gave him all these things to look at. And also, why do you get to see all the evidence that's brought against you? That's weird. That's fucking weird. But anyways, so many were photos of bodies. There was also photos of cars, houses, random objects that he had stolen from his victims. Now, that was part of the delay. The other part was due to money. Apparently, there wasn't, this because it was going to be a long drawn out case. Nobody would pay for this. Nobody would pay for this. And so it actually took for the judge to make like a public appearance on TV to ask for funding from the government to pay for his prosecution or to his trial.
I wonder if there's like a statute where like after so long the person gets let go, because you would think just okay, then we'll just never have a trial and you'll sit in jail forever.
I know. There were definitely times where they thought that Anatoly wouldn't actually be able to stand trial. So during this whole time, part of it was he had a lawyer who was getting him looked at by psychologists at the same time while they're waiting for funding to come through and like all this stuff. And he had actually claimed that he had been diagnosed schizophrenic at a facility. However, there was never anything that actually corroborated that.
Show me the receipt.
There actually wasn't any evidence that he ever even went into a facility. But even more so, he talked to psychologists, psychiatrists, and they all were like, does he hear voices? Like, could he? Sure, but not enough to not stand trial. Not enough. So finally, remember, he gets arrested in April of 1996. His trial finally starts November 23rd, 1998.
Damn.
So that's how long it took for him to look through his defense or look through the evidence against him and for them to gain enough funding to actually be able to do a trial. So they do the trial and the court rules that Anatoly Onoprienko was mentally competent to stand trial. So the first set of trial was to see if he could even stand trial and that he should and could be held responsible for his crimes. February 12th, 1999 is when his official criminal trial starts. So you're looking at almost 3 full years later is when he's finally being tried, which to be honest,
hey, whatever. At least his ass isn't out on the streets.
Well, and in the United States, I've heard of, trials. I feel like that's how a lot of trials are around here.
Yeah. They take forever to start.
So his trial finally starts. And when it starts, he's actually sitting in court in a cage, like a metal ass cage. And during this time, he is like spit on. He's yelled at. One woman said, "Let us tear him apart." Another person said, "He didn't deserve to be shot, but he deserved to die a slow and agonizing death." Okay, people were pissed. They were, and
as they should. He's killing full families. Like,
well, and it's
I was pissed when I heard. Well, and I was pissed about killing the people, but when you bring kids into it, it brings a whole nother level of pissedness.
Well, and it's a whole town, right? So these people are like, how dare you? First of all, this has taken way too damn long. Second of all, who the fuck are you?
Oh, I would be in the courtroom with my pitchfork, 100%.
That's what I felt like.
Yeah.
And even people wanted him dead.
Well, and that's the thing is he's probably, people are probably pissed because it took 3 years, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so people want him dead, and he's just like, living my life in jail.
Yep. Throughout his court proceedings, he claims that he felt like a robot being controlled and that he was doing the work of a dark force that was driving him. Again, not taking any responsibility on his own. What?
Skynet.
What the fuck is that?
The people who made Terminator.
Oh,
because wasn't that one of his nicknames?
Oh my God! Yeah, that's one of his nicknames.
Skynet was controlling him.
I had no idea. I kept looking around. I kept looking at the names, going, "What the fuck is he named the Terminator?" Like I couldn't.
He's a robot.
I couldn't. You just connected those dots for me because I kept going. Citizen O, I can understand because his last name starts with an O. Sure. Monster of whatever his fucking name was. I can understand that. But
Terminator
the
threw you
Terminator, I
off.
couldn't understand. I was like,
Have you seen this boy?
Like, I'm like sitting here going, in the Terminator, like he didn't like light houses on fire and kill families. So I could not figure it out. Okay, I
But
get it.
he was a robot.
Okay, so that's what he said. Okay.
This is why we do this, so I can
guess.
bring light to those situations.
I guess. Well, and the thing was, if we're being super honest, part of the reason why he was also in a cage during his trial was because of how pissed people were. They almost were like protecting him.
Yep.
Right. So, because then nobody could get to him because he's in this cage.
Yeah, you see it here. You see these people with bulletproof vests on, and
you
full,
protect them
like,
because at the end of the day, they're innocent until proven guilty. For one, and for two, it's not our job to be the judge, jury, and executioner. That's what the whole like law is for, right?
Oh, but like with this, they should have a raffle that the person who wins gets to execute him.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Then it could pay for the next trial.
No. So they literally like they were concerned because he was hated by so many people. They didn't know what was going to happen, and so they were like, "Nah, we gotta, whatever."
Do you think that sways the jury when there's people in the courtroom? If there is a jury, I don't know if it's
I was
just
going
a
to
judge.
say I actually don't know
But
if there was a jury.
Even if it's just a judge, right? So many people are pissed. So many people. Do you almost feel like shit if I don't give this guy a?
Oh, 100%.
Right, like
100.
I can't leave this courtroom because then they'll be coming for me next.
That is why people oftentimes will ask for a change of venue, because if the whole fucking town hates your guts, you cannot get a fair trial. Because even people who might think you're innocent won't fucking say you're innocent.
No, because they don't want to be next.
Because they don't want to be held to any. I mean, they get death threats. Some of the jury members will get death threats if they go, the wrong way or whatever. But I don't know if there was a jury because it took it says it took 3 hours of deliberating. So maybe he did. It didn't say whether it was a. I don't know if they have a jury of their peers in Ukraine.
Yeah, I'm curious how other places do it. If anybody knows, throw us a message.
Yeah. So anyways, after 3 hours, and actually only 3 hours of deliberating, Anatoly Onoprienko was sentenced to death by shooting. Now, his response to this was, "I've robbed and killed, but I'm a robot. I don't feel anything. I've been close to death so many times that it's even interesting for me now to venture into the afterworld to see what is there after this death." So he accepted it.
Well, we're going to help you there, bud.
Now, he did an interview as he was awaiting to, go be put to death. And in the interview, he said, "If I'm ever let out, I will start killing again. But this time, it will be worse. 10 times worse. The urge is there. Seize this chance because I am being groomed to serve Satan. After what I have learned out there, I have no competitors in my field. And if I am not killed, I will escape from this jail. And the first thing I'll do is find Kuchma, which at the time was the Ukrainian president, and hang him from a tree by his testicles."
Well, that's a little graphic.
That was what he said in an interview to somebody, which all in itself, it's like, well, now you really you're.
Well, guess what, bud? We're going to help you.
I think you're going to die
meet
soon.
Satan.
Unfortunately. Don't you like when I say that? Unfortunately. Ukraine had joined the Council of Europe, which made it to where they needed to abolish the death penalty. So his sentence was commuted to a life sentence instead. And on August 27th, 2013, Anatoly Onoprienko died in prison of heart failure. He was 54. So he didn't get shot and killed, and he didn't get put to death. He died of a heart failure.
I hope it sucked.
I know. I know. Because I was like, but
I hope it was really bad heartburn for a long time, because then he'd feel what his victims felt.
For fucking real. I do have some shots about this.
And none of them have to do with the movie. Wow. I feel vindicated putting Terminator in Skynet.
Yeah. Well, and he kept saying he's a robot.
Now.
So yeah, I get the Terminator thing. I could not figure that out. I just kept going, do I just leave it out? Because I just don't understand.
What year was this? 90?
He was arrested in 96.
Yes,
Trial was in 99.
I think that's I'd have to look it up, but I'm sure that's when the first Terminator came out.
Well, bravo to you for figuring out why the fuck he was nicknamed Terminator, because I could not figure that out. Like Monster of Ukraine, I understand.
And honestly, I could be way off.
Well, what else would be the thing?
I don't know. Maybe they have something over in Ukraine.
No,
that, like,
there's no way.
I'm just saying, like,
there's no way. Okay, so here's some shots. So Anatoly actually blames his time in the orphanage for why he ended up being the way he was. He actually claimed that 70% of kids in an orphanage end up in prison. Now, I did not bother to try to check that stat because I have no fucking idea how you would find that stat considering there's orphanage like all over the world. But I kind of think I believe it. I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't say nobody said he didn't say they all end up murderers. What he said is they end up in prison.
And 70% is a high number. Maybe it's not that high, but I bet you it's a higher percent than you would think.
I believe it because through all of the different true crime stuff I've done in serial killers, a lot of them do end up in an orphanage at some point.
Yep. And you talk to people that have been in orphanages or whatever. I mean, it's not easy. And you got to do things to survive and lie, cheat, steal. Like, it just becomes a part of who you are to survive.
Well, and it's like a lot of these different places, they also will group kids together from drastic age ranges, like 17 all the way down to like 5. And that's just immediate cause for trouble because these kids who are like 17,
they're grooming the younger kids.
They're going
to do what they want them
to
do.
And it doesn't necessarily mean sexually or anything like that.
No,
We're talking
like, hey, go steal that.
Exactly.
Gum.
You're cute. Go, you're a cute kid. They'll let you go steal that orange and bring it back to me. Like, you've got a lot of manipulation that can go on. So I honest to goodness, I would say he's probably not that far off with that statistic. However, I don't think that orphanages are as common. Now there's just like a lot of foster care, I feel like. Well, at least in the United States. Which is not any better, if I'm going to be honest, because foster care...
I mean, there's probably a lot of good foster care, but for every good, there's probably a bad.
I would
because you see it on the news all the time where, especially because you have people doing foster care not for the kids. Like, we've talked about it, money, and we do it to help the kids, but like I tell them, keep your money. I don't need it, but people do it for the money.
Yeah, because you get money.
And they don't put it towards the kids that they're fostering.
No, it's their job. They use it as a job. There's a lot of foster families out there that they'll foster like 6 kids because they get a paycheck for every kid. But the thing is that money is supposed to help pay for that child, but instead they use it on themselves. And what's so annoying about it is, don't you think the foster care system should take a good look at the foster families and figure out which families kick the kids out when they're 18 and can no longer get a check and stop giving those families kids because they're doing it for the money?
And not just that, like, it sucks to say this, but if you suspect things, you should have like, not a monthly, but like every couple of months check-in.
They do.
But like wait and stuff like that, because a lot of these kids that you hear about are getting starved. They're getting barely enough.
No, but they do. They do. The problem is, because of the United States protects, our DHS or CPS, like people who are supposed to protect kids, I feel like they're always protecting the wrong ones. And for foster,
there's probably more kids in foster care than there are people that can check on them.
Well, exactly. And social workers, your job's hard enough as it is, and then you're trying to rip these kids out of homes that aren't they're like temporary homes. It's just a whole fucking... I
tip my hat to people who are social workers. I couldn't do it because if I went into a house and it was really bad shape and the kids were not in a good shape, I would take it out on those parents.
I
just wouldn't be able to help.
I wanted to do social work, but one thing I will say is when it comes to foster care, the hardest part is, especially when you're fostering kids that are like middle school age, sometimes those kids are assholes.
Yep.
And so when you come in and see a parent, because those kids are going through trauma, and when you go in and see these parents who are trying to do everything they can, they might be trying to do everything, it's not working, and then you have to try to decipher what's real and what's not. You have foster kids who may potentially lie about foster families because they don't want to be there, But then you also have the other hand where foster kids are telling the truth about their foster families. And it's like, how do you decipher what's real and what's not? Same reason why kids are sent from foster care back to their families and then get pulled away from their families 2 months later because it didn't change like it was supposed to. So orphanages, foster homes, they all kind of fall under the same umbrella in my mind. You have people who are raising somebody else's children, and sometimes there's bad people that are raising those children.
Yep.
So I would not disagree with his
And sometimes those children are bad.
That's true, because sometimes they're born bad. Anatoly is one of them.
Yep.
So Anatoly's lawyer also claimed that due to Anatoly not having motherly love since the age of 4 and the absence of care he needed to form him into a man, he urged the court to make sure you give him a softer sentence because it's not really his fault. At the age of 4, his mother was no longer there. He had no motherly love. His dad gave him up to family members and then put him in an orphanage, and he was never properly taught how to be a real man, and therefore he deserves a lighter sentence.
Cool. We'll use smaller bullets.
And to that I say, yeah, you're probably right. You're probably very much right. However,
not an excuse.
No excuses. We don't do excuses here. You still got to pay for your crime, and you killed a lot of people, so you still got to die.
Yep.
Now, his accomplice in the first murder, Sergei, he was actually charged and convicted with the murder of that family of 10, and he was sentenced to 13 years in prison. So
Good.
he really, I guess Sergei was really there. And during the time that Anatoly was still alive, he was actually being suspected, and they were actually trying to investigate multiple other murders because there was such a big time gap between his first and second set of murders.
You.
Yes. So they really, tried to find more connections. Unfortunately, because he died, there's really no point to it now, and there's not much they can do. And finally, Anatoly stated, and I fucking quote, "To me, killing is like ripping up a duvet. Men, women, old people, children, they are all the same. So, he deserved to die."
They are all the same. They're all human lives that you took, you piece of shit.
So I'm very disappointed that he didn't get shot because that's what they do in Ukraine. And I think Russia, they don't even do a shooting squad. Like, it's not like a shooting or whatever you call it. Like, it's not like, is it a shoot? Did I say that right? Shooting squad?
Firing squad.
Firing squad. They don't do like a firing squad. We have firing squads here in the United States. They literally, I haven't gotten to him yet, but I was kind of like sneak peeking other cases. And there is a serial killer from Russia, and he died by being brought into a room and being shot in the head. That was his, they just brought him into a room and shot him in the head. Like, there wasn't like a whole like thing about it. They just shot, and he was from Russia. So in Russia, they'll just shoot your ass right there.
It was probably a stainless steel room with a drain in the floor.
Probably. I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, we'll get to him someday, so we'll know what it is. But in Ukraine, I think it's the same. Well, it would have been the same because, like I said, it was under the Soviet Union at the time. So the punishment was he was supposed to be brought into a room and shot in the head and killed. That never happened, and it disappoints me so greatly. And I'm not even gonna lie. This is one of those times where I get disappointed that he was actually able. Not only did he live like fucking 12 years in prison. Well, I guess if he was in 96 and he lived to 2013. So
17.
So he got to live 17 years. That pisses me off because it's just
I hope he got beat up.
I doubt it. Like, it just makes me mad because it's like, dude, first of all, okay, yes, if you want to get technical, it took 3 years for them to even go to trial. Great. So take off the 3 years. So 14 years he still got to live in prison, and then he got to die of heart failure instead of a bullet to his head, which he absolutely deserved because he killed all those people.
Well, apparently somebody forgot to charge his battery.
Because he's a robot.
A robot.
He is the kind of person that I genuinely feel that he probably did have something very much wrong with him. I mean, if I'm being honest, every single serial killer that I've ever researched has something wrong with them.
Well, yeah, of course.
Nobody goes out and kills people and could be considered quote unquote normal. Nobody. You obviously have a mental instability somewhere. You have a mental health issue somewhere. which is why I always say you can't use that as an excuse. But he is a prime reason why you can't use it as an excuse, because he said, if I do not die, which he lied. He fucking lied through his teeth because he said he was going to escape, and his motherfucking ass never did. But he said, if you don't kill me, I will escape and I will kill more people and I'll be 10 times worse because I've learned and I have no competition. And it's like, and then for him to say killing is like ripping up a duvet, like he's the person, he is literally what the death penalty is for. He is not rehabilitatable. He shouldn't deserve to live because he has literally zero anything in his brain or body that would allow him to be functional in any sort of way. And he brings nothing to society, and he brings nothing to prison society.
No, and I'm sure that president guy who, who
was going to get hung by his testicles.
When they joined
Jesus.
the group and abolished the death penalty, I'm sure he was like,
and that's just it. Like, you threatened the president, bro, and you still didn't get shot. Are you kidding me? So yeah, I was very much disappointed in the outcome. I know he died, so like, yay. But I was very disappointed, for one, that he got to live for so long, and for two, that he didn't even get to die. Although, he didn't really seem to be fazed by the death thing anyways. So I guess it really didn't matter how he died, because if you would have shot him, he would have just been like, cool, whatever. See ya on the flip side. Like, he wouldn't, it just didn't. But he is the reason why the death penalty should exist. And he is the reason why people should be put to death for murdering.
100%. And I'm sure the town was upset.
Oh, I'm sure they were pissed. I didn't see anything about it, but I'm sure people were very angry.
Yep.
Well, actually, I did see something, but it wasn't like anything crazy. It was just like the people were so incredibly, they were very happy when he got the death penalty. But then when Ukraine decided to join the thing, and then all of a sudden now they can't have the death penalty, because it's not that they couldn't. Let me be clear. It's not that they couldn't have the death penalty, but the death penalty was frowned upon. To increase their chances of being accepted into the Council of Europe, they abolished the fucking death penalty because they wanted to make themselves look good.
Well, whatever. That's what they wanted to do to join them. And speaking of joining, thank you for joining us on another week, another podcast.
Yep.
Tell your friends, tell your family, tell them to join us as well. Tell the neighbor. Tell the person walking down the street. Don't shoot them. Tell them. Listen to our podcast. They
only if you like true crime.
Yeah, only if you like true crime and cussing.
I was going to say, only if you like true crime and potty mouths, because other than that, you're not going to like it, and that's okay. We are not for everybody, and I am never offended by people who don't want to listen to me, because what? There's a lot of podcasts out there that I don't want to listen to either. So, it's fine. Everybody's got their own thing. We got our own thing. Y'all got your own thing. If you like it, make sure you are following us, though. So click the follow button on whatever platform you're listening to, so then it will remind you every Thursday when a new episode comes out.
Yep. And we can tell when we've increased people following us, because we get more downloads when we drop these on Thursday. So
yep,
it's cool. Feels good. We'll keep doing it. We got a whole lot more to come.
Yep.
We're just a few weeks away of changing up the intro.
Don't hold your breath, folks. Don't hold your breath.
The intro is going to get changed.
Because I have tasked Jay with being the one who has to fix and do a new intro. I mean, I'll be part of it, but he's got to come up with the idea. And so far, it says nil. So if it doesn't get done, and if on our 1 year episode anniversary we don't have a new intro, you will know why. Because it will be Jay's job. Jay dropped the ball.
Maybe the intro will come in and be like, just kidding, wah, 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 and the new intro will start.
I feel like that's not. We'll see what happens. Anyways, okay. I think this is the part where I'm going to say goodbye.
And I'll follow that up with a bye-bye.